Thank you, Sadhguru. I was really hoping that you'll move towards Chitra, because that's something that has always kind of puzzled me when I've read, seen some of your YouTubes. Gregor, you published a paper with Hude on consciousness and stuff, and the Chitra, as you mentioned, was consciousness, but what is interesting is an intellect without memory, and that…
It cannot work.
And that's bugly, especially so…
Well, I mean, there is something interesting about that. It's just that, well, we definitely, memories could be related to the type of automatisms that you create. So what you were reflecting to is that the type of memories we have about past events, like, will basically create some priors in the way we're going to behave on the next, basically, occurrence of seeing someone. And I think that's also very important, is if you want to be open to others, if you want to understand that others can have different point of view on the same matters, so what we call in psychology theory of mind, so the ability I have to basically understand that you can have different mental state as me, and that I can also appreciate that it's okay for you to have a different state of mind regarding a similar matter. That's something that develops through life. And what is interesting is that we also have a lot of automatisms in that matters. And automatisms is great. It allows us to be extremely, very well adapted to our environment. But from time to time, it led us to make systematic mistakes. So for instance, if we take something as simple as taking the perspective of others, which is like fundamental. If you want to basically create an understanding of others, you need to be able to take their perspective. Okay, very simply put it, like, it could be a visual spatial perspective. So knowing that, like, you see this object differently from me, and that actually entails, and that's what we've been shown, that we showed in our studies, that entails, like, basically to resist your egocentric biases. So I'm interestingly looking at the world from my perspective, and what I need to do is, like, basically be able to resist to this egocentric bias in order to take the perspective of others. And so we've been, like, conducting studies in the lab lately in which we showed that basically taking the perspective of others is costly, and it's even more costly when you have stereotypes, so memories of how the other behave. So that actually drives you to be even more egocentric. So we showed that this is the case for stereotypes related to gender. This is related to stereotypes related to ethnicity. This is related to stereotypes we have about just the in-group, out-group. So the mere fact that I'm thinking that you're not part of my in-group makes it more difficult for me to take your perspective. And that's, like, the basic, like, one of the founding block of empathy. So empathy is rooted on my ability to take the perspective of others.
But Sadhguru, coming back…
I'm talking about memory in a much more basic way, in the sense, suppose we feed Gregor with Indian food for 3 months, his complexion won't change because the body just remembers this is how it should be. Or if I eat dog food for 3 months, I won't become a dog. Because my evolutionary memory 100% remembers whatever you put into this has to become only this. So, memory, as you remember, is just a small quantum of it, but the real memory is there in the body, not in the brain. Your body remembers more things than your brain can ever remember. Every cell in your body remembers how your forefathers were, or let's say 10 generations ago, how your great-grandfather looked, you don't remember in your brain, but his nose is sitting on your face, so because the body remembers. So, memory, I'm looking at in terms of… In fact, from our parents we got only 1 cell each. Obviously it carried the whole memory in those 2 cells, and here we are. So memory is not just of what happens in the brain, what happens in the body is much, much bigger, and by stabilizing the body, that's what the yogic system is about. By stabilizing the body, the very shape of your brain and how your brain functions can be completely altered. I'll tell you a simple thing. We… about 16 years ago, we started a school inside the yoga center. And one morning I went there for the morning assembly, all 6, 7-year-old children. they're all sitting like this, like this, like this, like this. I said, what's happening to these children? Why are they like broken tops, you know? Why are they all unsteady like this? I just started the 7 notes of the music, 12 minutes a day. You won't believe, after 3 months I went there, everybody's sitting like this, unmoving. Today, I can show you children who will sit like this, unmoving, for anywhere between 5 to 6 hours effortlessly. They won't move. And this will stabilize the neuronal activity in the brain in a fantastic way. Our whole effort is to create intensity without intent. People are always trying to change the brain, even there was a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, the way you think is the way you become. With intent, you can change the brain, or the shape of the brain, or how it functions, definitely. But we are talking about a dimension, you create intensity without any intent. Life happens exuberantly, but no intention. This creates a completely different dimension. This will create an ambience for individual genius to unfold. In this, you will see always, wherever, whether it's a scientific genius or a musician or a sports person, the moment some genius within him unfolds, suddenly his identity is not limited to small things, always.